that such a nice opening? I really like that opening of that show. It's really charming. You know, I actually started watching Friends last summer, and I gotta tell you, it's a good show. Yeah, I gotta be honest with you guys. When you're like not white and you live in the hood, the first thing when you think of Friends is that it's a show for white people. Like, I remember when I was like a kid, they used to always give it on cable. I used to always be like, yeah, nah, it's not for me. It's a white show, you know. I won't find it funny. But last summer I started watching it with my sisters. Well, my oldest sister started watching it, and me and my older sister were like, Jessica, we don't know why you watch that show, because, you know, what we watch in this house are the Wayans brothers or Martin. Personally, I don't like Martin though, but yeah. Well, you know, we would often like just watch it with her, because as sisters, we like to watch anything together, even if we don't like it, just because it's just fun. So me and my older sister were watching it with her. We're like, oh, this is kind of funny. And eventually we ended up all loving it, and we just watched like the whole show. When my two sisters finished the series, I didn't, because I take forever to watch shows. I really like to digest a TV show. So yeah, I really like this show though. Like, it really surprised me by how much effort was put into like not only the characters and how realistically they're portrayed, but the set designs. Like, I am obsessed with Rachel and Monica's loft. That was like my dream loft, dream apartment, because a lot of other shows, when they're showing a character's house inside of cities, that's a weird way to say it. When they show a character's apartment in the city, especially in New York, they make it so like, I don't know how to explain it, but it doesn't look like people live in it. It just looks like it's big. That's it. Like, it's fancy in it, or it has like a lot of space. I don't know how to explain it. It just looks whack. Like, it doesn't look like people live in it. It doesn't look like a place where you would want to stay at. Like, for example, I always hated Kurt and Rachel's loft in Glee, because it was brown. It was just brown. Like, it was brown with nothing else, and everything. The color scheme was brown and yellow and tan, and it was so fucking ugly, and it didn't look like anyone lived in there. Like, he had a fucking, what did they have? They had lawn chairs in the dining table. Lawn chairs, unbelievable. I'm sorry, that just made me so mad. But I'm going off track. But I like I like Rachel and Monica's loft, because they have legit items that you would have in a house. Like, they have their coffee, they have their table, they have like couches, and you could see that they have things that they found. Like, you could see certain items and think, oh wow, they found that at a garage sale, and we're like, okay, I could use that for my apartment. Like, you know, like normal people. But yeah, I also like Ross's apartment. It's not my taste, but I like that. I love that it's Ross though. Like, you walk into it and you're like, oh, that's Ross's apartment. It's something I just really appreciate that the show does, especially with the their fashion sense. Like, Ross, in my opinion, has probably the most interesting fashion sense out of all the men, because he wears like, oh, sorry, my background. He wears like nice earthy colors, which is very in character for him. But sometimes he goes into these nice pastels, nice pinks and reds. It's really lovely. I really love Ross, by the way. So if you don't love Ross, well, you can't fuck with me. But I also like Phoebe's. I know people like Rachel's outfits too, but hers are great. But I really like Phoebe's because it's just so colorful and fun, and she's just so eccentric, and she wears like these long gowns, and it's phenomenal. I feel like she's a little underrated when it comes to the fashion department. Also Monica. I love Monica too, and her clothes. Let's get on track. Basically, this speed paint is supposed to touch on everything that I've come up with in my little Gleepo universe. I call it Gleeple, so just in case if Netflix ever wants to pick up the show, I can avoid a lawsuit. Instead of calling it Glee, I'll just be like, it's Gleeple. Come on. But yeah. I base a lot of, like, recently, ever since I started watching Friends, I've been basing a lot of artwork, or a lot of like headcanons and world building. I base it a lot off of Friends, because I think Friends is a perfect example of great character arcs and world building and character development. So I wanted to kind of like talk about that here. So as you can see, I used I pretty much I was redrawing this Rolling Stones cover of the Friends cast, and it's one of my favorite pictures. I actually had a lot of images in my mind to draw, but this one stuck out the most. Like, there was one where they were sipping ice cream or smoothies. I thought that was cute, but this one was just so pretty. The colors, the outfits, the atmosphere of it. I was just like, I have to do this one, because I know I would have a blast drawing it. And I did. I had a lot of fun making this. Like, I don't know if you noticed, but I've recently kind of started dropping the whole separating your sketch layer and your line art layer and just kind of like mushing them together. I find that when I work into the sketch layer instead of working over it, it's just so, first of all, it's way more fun. It's a lot more risky, so I guess that's why it's a little fun. And I think it takes care of the whole, oh, the sketch layer was better than the line art layer issue, when it's like, no, like, the sketch layer is the line art layer, so you get all that liveliness without having to worry about being too perfect. And for me, like, it is a lifesaver. And ever since I started doing that, it's made my art process a lot faster and a lot more enjoyable. So I just want to let you guys know, a little art tip: if you have trouble with line art, just fucking go ham. Fuck the line art layer, go into the sketch layer with your line art. But yeah, let me finally start talking about these characters, because I kind of go on tangents a lot. But I think the two characters that are most like any character on Friends from the Gleeple universe is probably Kurt and Mercedes. I feel like Kurt is definitely a Monica, even though I drew him in Rachel's place. But I think he's a Monica because he's emotional, he has OCD, and he's kind of unlucky when it comes to love. And Mercedes to me is like Phoebe, because they're both very eccentric. They do some wild shit. And Phoebe's kind of inspired me to make Mercedes a little eco-friendly now. Not super like Phoebe is, but like I can see Mercedes like taking time to like care for the environment, or telling her friends to like recycle and shit. So with that being said, I'm gonna start with Kurt. I'm gonna go into detail with Kurt. So Kurt is, if you watch Glee, you'll know who Kurt is. He's the only white one in this picture. But he's on the top left, where he's supposed to be the Rachel of the picture. So Kurt is like, he's kind of my favorite next to Mercedes. Like, he's like my little favorite character to draw, because he's kind of like, a lot of myself is put into him. So Kurt is single and he's trying to date around, but he often ends up with really weird people. So he has kind of trouble in the dating department. He has obsessive compulsive episodes where he just kind of like leaps out of bed at 4 a.m. and he has to find his 7th grade science project. Like, he would like, it would be like 3 a.m. and he is just ready to go to bed, and then he just thinks, oh fuck, I gotta find this shit. He will not go to bed until he finds it, or until he like cries himself to sleep. The poor guy. But he's also a performing school dropout, and he goes back to community college to venture into fashion instead, which I like a lot, because in the show in the show Glee, he got into theater and performing arts. But I feel like they only did that because Rachel was the only character in New York that liked theater. So I feel like they made Kurt like theater so he could, so he could latch on to Rachel and stuff. So that, because Rachel wasn't really, no one really watched the show for Rachel anymore, and they knew Kurt was a popular character, so they kind of latched him onto Rachel and made him like things that she liked. But I feel like it would have been more interesting if Kurt stuck to fashion. So, yeah, in my universe, Kurt's into fashion, but he does try to go into performing art school, but he finds it too stressful, and he finds that he doesn't like it that much to fucking stress out to that degree. So he drops out, and he goes to a community college in New York, and he takes fashion classes. And in my universe, Kurt is kind of dumb. He's not ditzy, but he's dumb. But he's very pretty, so that makes up for it. I love Kurt. Like, he's a little flamboyant, but I don't know, I try to make them realistic. Like, Kurt's not just flamboyant. He also likes to be a little butch sometimes, but like any other person, he's probably the most like drastic when it comes to fashion. Like, everyone else kind of has a specific taste that they like, but Kurt likes to really like, that's where his theatrics come out. Like, when he likes to dress like completely prep and then just completely punk the next day, just because he feels like it. So next is Mercedes. Mercedes is another favorite of mine. She's lovely, and she's so fucking easy to draw. I love Mercedes for that. She's like, when I have trouble drawing, I'm like, I'm just gonna draw Mercedes. Like, if you notice, out of everyone, she gave me the least amount of trouble in this picture. I love you, Mercedes. Thank you for making art so easy. But anyway, Mercedes is ridiculous and one of a kind. And she opens her apartment to Kurt, and they both pretty much become roommates because Kurt moves out of Rachel's loft because he pretty much can't take it anymore. Because originally Kurt is living with Santana and Rachel, but he moves out because it's a really toxic environment. So Mercedes is like, all right, I guess I'll let you move in, but she really needs help with rent, so she has to let him in. She loves to collect bones and creepy shit, so I'd like to show more of Kurt and Mercedes loft, because I want to draw like little jars of bones that Mercedes collects, because she likes to collect a lot of like weird shit. She loves like finding dead animal stuff and just like putting it in the apartment. She likes horror movies. She loves horror movies. She likes to drag Kurt and Blaine to watch her with her, even though they hate it. She's what else? She also likes to drag her friends to metal concerts. And I know this is self-inserting, but Mercedes loves Incubus. I don't care. That's her favorite band. I'm putting it out there. I don't care if it's self-inserting. Mercedes loves Incubus. So there's that. She's also forgetful and often needs to write things down. So this is kind of something I picked out for my sister. She's very forgetful, like really fucking forgetful. So I feel like I should put that with Mercedes, because I just see her as someone who just forget things a lot. And I think a lot of people would see her as ditzy, but she's not ditzy. She just forgets things. Like, she's very clever, actually. And she also has an existential crisis once a month, unfortunately. She's also single, but for some reason, Mercedes has kind of a harem of people who just really want to get with her. Like, she's kind of always swatting men and women away from her. Like, I don't know why. I don't know why I added that, but I just find that so fun that Mercedes would she would just, every day she'd have someone just like falling for her. Like, I actually wrote, like, if you don't watch Glee, you'll get a little confused, but I'll try and be as clear as possible. But basically, Jesse St. James is he is an old enemy of the group. They pretty much still hate him because he's kind of a dickhead. So Jesse St. James reunites, I don't want to say reunites, but he meets up with Mercedes again because Mercedes would try out for like, I don't know, a theater, a community theater show, and she'd meet Jesse there, and he like instantly, once he hears her sing, he'd just be obsessed with her. So she has him on him, and then there's Quinn Fabre. In my universe, she works at a cat shelter. So Mercedes goes over to give her a stray cat, and then Quinn is like, "Oh my God, I love you." So she loves Mercedes too, and and then there's Santana, who really loves Mercedes as well, but that's kind of like later on, because to me, Santana and Mercedes would end up being endgame. Like they'd be the couple to end it with. But yeah, Mercedes has a lot of people who's on her ass, and I forgot to mention Mercedes is the top right one. She's in Phoebe's place. Perfect. I thought it was the perfect pose for Mercedes because I don't know. I love her side. I love drawing her profile. So, but yeah, that's Mercedes. I love her. She's insane. And I want to draw more. I want to make more comics with her in it. So next is Tina. Tina is right under Mercedes. She's in Monica's place. So Tina is, she's someone I've kind of had trouble. She's someone I have a little trouble drawing because I have so many ideas for how I want to draw her face, but it's like I can't decide what exactly I want it to look like. But Tina is loud and boisterous. She must be heard and will literally kill for all her friends. I feel like she's very opposite of how she used to be on GLEE. Whereas, I guess season 1 and 2-ish. In season 1 and 2, they portrayed Tina as very quiet and like shy and stuff. But I kind of based Tina a little bit off of season 4 Tina, where she was just a little bit louder. And I love that. I love loud Tina. I love asshole Tina. She's the best. So, in my universe, after high school, she would start to like basically work out. And she would just become kind of obsessed with fitness. So she'd be like she'd be pretty much Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson of the whole group. So she's like always like fit. She has her big ass meals. She's a little aggressive. Not too aggressive, just a little aggressive. She was originally going to school for performing, but decided that she actually hated performing in high school. So she decides to, actually haven't decided here yet what she would do after, but I'm kind of leaning on her working at a museum or just something really opposite of who she is, maybe a library. So maybe she gets in trouble a lot because she's really loud. But she also gets very emotional. She gets emotional easily, but unlike Kurt, she doesn't cry at the drop of a hat because Kurt is a crybaby. But Tina is more of like an emotional disaster, if that makes sense. Like, also, despite her being emotional, she doesn't really hold attachment to friends too quickly. Like, if you've known Tina for, I don't know, a year, she can easily drop you. It's kind of scary. I think it's probably because in high school she was kind of treated like shit. So she's kind of has her guard up. So she does not hold her friends to such a high caliber, I guess. I don't know if that makes sense. Until she met, the GLEE pool. Like before, she would just kind of like, basically her 5 friends, those are the only people she pretty much die for. Everyone else can go fuck themselves. Basically. She also loves taxidermy. I don't know why I added that. Well, yeah, she loves taxidermy. Like, she does taxidermy. And she's goth. She's like the goth one. I don't know if you can tell in the picture, because she has her badass fingerless gloves. So she's the gothic character. She's very dark. But every once in a while, she'll just like a 60s go-go dancer, because she's like 60s fashion. But her and Mercedes would sometimes they'd kind of match, because sometimes Mercedes likes to dress goth too. So when they're both dressed in goth, it's like a woohoo, it's a disaster party. When they're together, it's crazy. Next is our lovable asshole, Santana. Santana she's on Tina's left, so she's the one who's supposed to be Joey in the picture. And Santana is, oh man, Santana, whereas Mercedes is the easiest to draw, Santana is the easiest to come up with like personality traits. She's so fun to draw and to write stuff for because she's such an asshole. So she's like kind of like, she's like the cynical bitch of the group. She's literally like a giant asshole for the first few days of when, you know, but she eventually gets her senses kicked into her by Blaine, which is her roommate. So she also lived with Kurt and Rachel before everything, but after Kurt moved out, Santana kind of felt like, oh shit, if he's moving out, I don't want to fucking be here. So eventually she moves out a little later, probably a couple months later, and so she moves in with Blaine. So at first, like, she's kind of a dickhead to Blaine and like everyone else when she first moves in, because she's kind of been used to like just being such an asshole and no one saying anything about it in high school, that it just kind of comes out. And eventually Blaine is like, yo, what the fuck? Well, he doesn't say that because he doesn't curse. He tries not to curse. But yeah, he pretty much puts Santana in her place where he just tells her that, you know, you can't be a dickhead all the time. It's not cool. He says it a little more angrily. But it eventually has her open her eyes and kind of do some reflecting, like, okay, maybe I shouldn't be a dick to my friends, but to other people, okay. That's pretty much her solution. But she becomes more, instead of like in the show where she's just really rude and like, she said a lot of stuff on the show on GLEE where it's just made her really unlikable because she would take things really far. Whereas on the show she would say really harmful stuff. In my universe, to her friends, she's more of a lovable asshole. She's an asshole, but she doesn't take things too far anymore. Like, she wouldn't call Kurt Lady Humble anymore because it's just not nice to say that to people. Or she wouldn't say things that would be below the belt. Like, she'd probably call Kurt, I don't know, French fry or something like that. Or something like, because he's kind of long. Like in my universe, he's like 6 feet tall, so he's taller than everyone. So she'd call out everyone's like stupid shit. But Santana also tends to be an asshole because she has a lot of social anxiety. So she feels like things are easier to handle when, at least it started that way. She felt like things were easier to handle when she was a bitch. But eventually it kind of became her personality. And she also has anger management issues, so she's learning to deal with that with therapy. But her therapy was cut short because it was too expensive to pay for, so she kind of had like, what, a month of therapy? But there's one thing she got out of it, and that was that her therapist told her that maybe she could try getting into hobbies that would help her alleviate the anger or the anxiety. And he suggested, oh, why don't you get plants, you know? Why not try planting or gardening? So the joke in the universe is that Santana gets a lot of fucking plants. Like, she gets a shitload of plants and she just releases it all into her and Blaine's apartment. And Mercedes likes to call their apartment the jungle because it's literally covered in plants. But it's really nice to draw. Like, I think it looks really lovely when you like look back at it. But yeah. And career and education wise, Santana's not really in like a community college, but I would like to think that Santana takes art classes with Blaine. Like, they just take an art class because Blaine's like, you know, we really should work on our relationship as friends and stuff like that, so maybe we could take this and it could help us out. Santana's like, that's not gonna fucking work, but it does. And they do become closer through their art projects. And I kind of make it a joke that Santana makes really shitty art, whereas Blaine makes really nice artwork. or at least Santana doesn't try when it comes to certain things. She's actually a really good artist, but yeah. She also works at a diner with Kurt. I don't know if it's the same diner as they worked in on the show, because I'd like it to be that Santana and Kurt literally maybe don't contact each other for a long time until they meet again when they have the same job. I'm still thinking about that. I kind of also like the idea of Santana and Kurt working at the same job for like 2 years, and then Kurt suddenly seeing a shift in her attitude. I don't know, but basically they work at the at some kind of diner with cute uniforms, and she kind of makes Kurt's life a living hell, kind of. Not like super bad, but he's just like, oh, why do I have to fucking work with this woman? She's a mess. Because she always comes in and she's like, yo, what's up, bitch? Like, you know, like, it's stupid, but, you know, eventually their friendship becomes something very interesting and fun. Next is Mike, who is to the left of Mercedes and to the top of Santana. She's pretty much he's pretty much the Chandler in the picture, and he's actually a recent addition, because it originally was it was Kurt, Mercedes, and Blaine. Then it became Kurt, Mercedes, and Santana. Then it became Kurt, Mercedes, Santana, and Tina. And then I was like, hey, Mike is kind of cute. So I added Mike. My voice just fucking gave out. But yeah, I added Mike, and he's still pretty new, like to the whole group that I'm drawing, so I'm still figuring him out. But I'm really loving him so far because he's just adorable, and he's kind of like, he's very blunt, but he doesn't mean to be. Like, he could be really harsh sometimes, in a way, like if people ask him stuff, like if someone asks him, hey Mike, you wanna go get a drink or something, he'll just be like, I don't want to do that. And people don't really know how to react to that, so unfortunately this kind of gives Mike a reputation of being a dickhead, but he's not a dickhead. He's just really blunt in what he says. Like, in a way, it's similar to how Phoebe is in Friends, where there was a scene where she's just like, I would help, but I don't want to. And that's just how he is. Like, he just says shit, and sometimes it can be taken the wrong way, but that's our Mike. He's just like that. Also, he has no sense of fashion. Like, he literally gives no fucks about what he wears. Sometimes his friends are embarrassed to walk with him because of the shit he wears, but he literally just doesn't care. He doesn't know what's fashionable. He also loves dinosaurs, like a shit ton. He really loves dinosaurs. And he actually lives with Tina. I should have mentioned this first, but yeah, Mike is Tina's longtime boyfriend, high school sweetheart, so they've pretty much been together since senior year, which is, I know in the show they've been together for longer than that, but in my opinion, I think it's a nightmare to be with someone since like sophomore year and then adulthood. Like, that's a long time. So I say senior year, and like, he was the jock and she was the cheerleader. It was really cute, little. But yeah, they live in New York too. So but the thing is, he's kind of, I don't want to say he's living a lie, but from his parents he is, because he pretty much convinced his parents, like, before he left, he's like, yeah, mom, dad, I'm gonna be studying, I'm gonna be a dentist or a lawyer. No, I'm gonna be a dentist. And he calls them, like, when they call, they're like, how's dentist life? You know, how's your studies? Like, oh, it's great, it's great. And he's lying to them, basically saying he's dating a lawyer, but he's dating a gothic taxidermist. So he's kind of in deep shit. But whatever, we all love Mike. There's Blaine, who I've saved for last, because I know Kurt is a favorite, but out of all of them, yeah, it is Kurt. But Blaine he's just one of a kind. I love Blaine. I'm really attached to him because he was pretty much the first character on GLEE where I kind of took him and I pretty much put my own work and my own ideas into him, and he was the first one who became very different from the actual Glee show. So like he's probably the most developed out of everyone because I put so much time into him. Like everyone else besides Kurt and Mercedes are kind of recent additions. So I'm reading notes and I put naughty boy. I don't know why I put that. He's a naughty boy. But like he is. How do I introduce Blaine? Let's see. He is the sweetest bitch you'll ever meet, basically, like Sammy from Jersey Shore. The sweetest bitch you'll ever meet. But angry Blaine, you don't want to see Blaine when he's angry. He's not like violent, but it's just you don't want to see nice people when they're mad. It's just not good. No one wants to see angry Blaine. But Blaine is pretty much he used to date Kurt in high school. They dated like for a year in high school, and then they broke it off senior year. Like right before Kurt graduated, they broke up because Blaine felt like he was really attached to Kurt, and because Kurt was going to New York and Blaine was pretty much depressed about that, and Blaine didn't like feeling that way. So he's like, I gotta break up with you, I'm sorry, Kurt. And they cried. I know in the awful show Glee, they made him cheat on Kurt, but I felt like it was so out of character for Blaine to do that. So in my universe, Blaine just breaks it off because he pretty much doesn't like feeling depressed. Blaine also has episodes of depression. It's kind of sad, but yeah. So like in 4 years later, there's 4 or 5 years around there, he sees Kurt again, and Kurt is attending school. He's attending the performing arts school. This is before he drops out. So he's attending that school, and they meet up again, and it's very different. I mean, when you see someone after 5 years, it's not the same. So, but in a good way. So they kind of reintroduce themselves, and they're very different people from where they were when they were 16 and 15. Like by then, Kurt is hold on. Well, they're like 23-ish, I think, 23, 24. And yeah, they kind of rekindle a friendship. They start a new friendship, and in the end, in my universe, they do get together. But I just love a good slow burn, so it takes a while. Blaine, he finds himself a nice apartment, a really nice apartment. Out of everyone's apartments, Blaine's is the nicest because his dad's stinking rich, and even though his dad left him when he was younger, he feels very guilty about it, and Blaine is kind of nasty because he's using that to get his dad's money. Like he's like, Dad, you know, the least you could do for leaving me for ditching me because I was gay, the least you could do is buy me Overwatch and this entire computer setup, please. So his dad buys him everything, but he gets shit for that from everyone else. Like they're like, you know, you can't live off your dad's stuff forever, and he's like, why? So that's why he has such a nice apartment and stuff. Dad pays for it, but eventually he starts to make his own. Doesn't mean he completely cuts his dad off though. Like, come on, shut up, phone. But yeah, so now, personality-wise, you know, he's nice. He's nice and the nicest person ever. He also really loves the color yellow. Don't know why I added that, but yeah, he loves the color yellow. But he did move out immediately from high school into college. Like I said, daddy's money, so he wants to go into Broadway. He loves Broadway. He loves theater. He can handle it because he's extroverted. He does have, like I mentioned before, he does have bouts of depression. So sometimes he just kind of shuts down, but he does deal with it. Like I would like to add that he would go to therapy with Emma. If you remember her, she was the school counselor in the show. So I would like to think that she breaks up with Will and she becomes a therapist. So he goes to her and she helps him a lot. Like he would go to her all the time. Like, Emma, you wouldn't freaking believe what happened today. And she'd be like, oh, okay, we're not scheduled today, but okay, Blaine. Also, he's a bit of a slut. I just have to put that in there. Like he's a slut. Like he sleeps around. He's safe, of course. He's always safe. Safe sex is important. He stresses that a lot. But what's funny about Blaine is that he sleeps with so many people, but he thinks with every man he sleeps with, because he's gay, by the way, with every man he sleeps with, that he's gonna find his true love. It's kind of sad because he kind of gets heartbroken a lot. But boys, we love our little slut. But yeah, that's pretty much everyone. Actually, I forgot to talk about their sexualities. I just assume everyone knows, but Kurt is gay, Blaine is gay, Mercedes, Tina, and Mike are bisexual, and Santana's a lesbian. So there you have it. Yes, I love them so much. I'd love to, like, I could talk about them like all day. I actually feel like this video is just a little too short, actually, so I'm gonna answer some questions on Instagram that I asked. So Coco Drillos asks, how does your version of Santana differ from the shows? And I think I mentioned it before in the video, but in my universe, Santana's a bitch because she feels like she has to be, or because of her anxiety. Like she also says insults, but they're not to a point where it hurts people's feelings. Like the worst she'll say to her friends is probably like, why do you look like a fruit roll-up? Maybe if they were like a weird outfit, like she'll say shit like that, like just teasing them. Whereas in Glee, she would say like really offensive things. Like she would call Kurt Lady Hummel, she would make fun of his femininity, and it wasn't really nice to watch, especially since she was a lesbian character and he was a gay character. They were the only ones besides Blaine, and the fact that they were always fighting was kind of ridiculous, because I feel like I would think they'd be close, because out of everyone before Blaine came in, Kurt would be the only one who would understand how Santana feels and being closeted or coming out and all that stuff. So yeah, also in like the way I portray Santana, she's kind of a softie, like a big softie. But the only person who sees that side of her is Blaine and Mercedes. Literally the only people. So yeah. Auntie Snicks 25 asks, why don't you ship Britannia, and what got you drawing them like you do? I don't ship Brittany and Santana because I don't like Brittany. If you guys like Brittany from Glee, I'm sorry, I hate Brittany. She's annoying. I didn't like her because she said a lot of racist shit, and she was just like, she was unbearable. Like, she was just stupid, and it wasn't funny to me. So I felt like Santana, I don't want to say deserved, because Santana was kind of a dick to her too. Like, when it came to season 1, like she basically manipulated her into having sex. That was kind of weird and gross. So I felt like they just both were not good for each other. But I also just really hate Brittany. So I felt like Santana, I wanted to give her someone more on her level. So I chose, I don't say I chose, but I saw a lot of chemistry between Mercedes and Santana. So I put them together, basically. I pretty much just started drawing them like this because I didn't want them to look like the actors anymore. I didn't like associating the Glee characters with the actors. I didn't like, because once I got into my 20s, I stopped caring about like Darren, Chris, and all these people. Like, I don't give a fuck what they do anymore. So yeah, I just wanted to like completely separate that and make them two completely different things, and I think I did a pretty good job. Bidded Ridden asks, what was it about Glee and its characters that made you like it/them so much? I haven't watched it, so it'd be interesting to hear. Smiley face. It's really interesting. I think I've mentioned this in the previous video, but I'm trying to say something different. But what I really liked about Glee was the atmosphere of the first season. Not of the characters, but more of like how I just really liked the world building of season 1. I thought it was excellent. Like, everything just felt so tight knit. and it made you excited to see new characters, and made me excited for them to explore like the rest of the choir room cast. So, and once they did, I was like, oh, I really like these characters. Like, I really enjoyed, I don't know if I'd call it, I guess, character design. I like the character design of them, even though they're real life actors. The way they dressed, the colors and stuff from the early seasons, even around season 3, I just really enjoyed that. I also liked the diversity of the show. Even though it was basically a bait and switch, I really enjoyed the diversity, and I wanted to do something with that. I wanted to take the diversity and actually make something of it, and not just, I don't want the show to have that satisfaction of tricking us into watching this show and then just leaving us for dead. So I just took those characters, and I'm like, alright, I want to do something with them. So yeah, and I just kind of, the more I draw them, the more they become my own, because I'm just basing them off of different people. Like Mike's face, like Mike's whole facial structure, it's based off of a little bit of Harry Shum, like a little bit, but also, I don't know if I'm saying this right, but Manny Jancito, he's in that show The Good Place. Like, that's where his like delicious jawline comes from, and his hair is based off of Bruce Lee. So like, it's like nothing is like, almost like 90% of Mike's design is based off of other people, and like 9% is based off of Harry Shum. But yeah, that's why I like them so much. I also like the concept of singing. Like, I think that's awesome, because I can make animatics with that. Like, I made the Christmas animatic because they actually had their voices singing. Like, literally the best thing about GLEE is the fact that they did covers, because you could kind of like immortalize them with animatics. Which is weird that no one has made GLEE animatics except me, but someone's got to do it. Okay, Foley China World asks me, tell me the story of Blaine and Kurt, smiley face, because they are so cute. Aww. Well, I kind of mentioned it here, but I'll go on to the other side of that story. So, Blaine and Kurt, my plan for Blaine and Kurt is that they would become, like, after they kind of see each other again after 5 years, they'd take a dance class together, because Blaine's maybe a freshman or sophomore, I don't know, but they take a little dance class, and it kind of awakens some feelings. I don't want to say reawakens, but awakens new feelings. They pretty much, whereas when they were in high school, they liked each other for who they were in high school, but when they're adults, they begin to fall in love with the people they become, and it's kind of poetic. Not to my own horn, but yeah, Kurt sees Blaine, like, he's just so different. Like, Blaine, after high school, he starts to gain some weight, so he's a lot different looking, but Kurt is just like, wow, what a guy. Like, he just loves everything about Blaine after a while. But they are friends first. Like, they're like best friends first. Like, they fuck around, they bust each other's balls, like, but they eventually become lovers, and I'd really like to portray their dynamic much more intimately than it was on the show, because I felt like they bitched out on a lot of stuff. But yeah, that's pretty much Kurt and Blaine. Like, they're not, what I like about them is that they're not like opposites, which a lot of people like a lot in couples for some reason, like opposites attract. Like, no, they like the similar stuff. What's cool about them is that, like, Blaine, like, they're just both weird. I don't know how to explain that. Like, they're both weird and stupid, and they're just so fun to draw together and portray together. So yeah, sorry if that didn't answer the question, but alright, next question. Hey Howdy Hey asks, also, what made you, they asked 2 questions. They said, I really want to know your opinions on GLEE characters you don't draw, and then also, what made you want to redesign and reinterpret the GLEE characters? I like yours better. Oh, thank you. So The reason why I don't draw certain characters, like, if you notice, I don't draw Rachel, I don't draw Finn, I don't draw Puck, I don't draw Sam, I don't draw Quinn. I do draw sometimes, only in relation to Mercedes. But I don't draw a lot of the other characters because I don't like them. Like, that's it. That's like, there's no explanation other than the fact that I just don't like them. Like, and I also feel like there's more than enough fan art and artwork of Rachel and Finn and Quinn, especially Quinn. She had a lot of artwork, like a shitload. And Brittany too, and Sam. Like, it's like, these are characters who you see them all the time. Like, if you look up GLEE art, these are the characters you're gonna always see. And I'm not gonna say it, but I think we all know why. So I feel like I don't need to draw them. Why should, like, I don't need to draw them. There's enough of it. And I just don't care about them. Like, I really don't care about Rachel or Sam. Like, they're the least, I couldn't care any less. That's how much I don't care about them. But I do like drawing Quinn a little bit. Only when she's attached to Mercedes. Like, if her storyline, she doesn't have a storyline basically. She's like a side character. She's someone who's attracted to Mercedes. I only like drawing her when she's attracted to Mercedes. I don't care about Quinn as an individual. I'm sorry, guys. That sounds mean, but I don't. But I did redesign her, and she's a little fun, my redesign. Like, she's kind of messy looking. She's messy. She doesn't look like shit, but she doesn't look as prim and proper as she did when she was in high school. But yeah, that's pretty much why I don't really draw those characters. I just don't feel like it's necessary, and they're just not interesting to me. Like, their character designs are kind of whack, in my opinion. Also, what? Oh, I also hate Rachel. Like, I fucking hate Rachel. On GLEE. I love Rachel from Friends. I hate Rachel from GLEE. Also, what made you want to redesign and reinterpret the GLEE characters? I like yours better. Wait, I said that before, right? Yeah. So basically what I said before, it's pretty much the opposite of why I don't draw certain characters. Like, first of all, I just liked how they looked. Yeah, I liked how they looked, and I saw a lot of potential in them. Like, especially in Santana and Mercedes, I feel like they have so much potential in their personalities that the show did not give them. And Tina too. Like, Tina's in season 4, Tina was interesting, but they made it seem like because Tina was loud and didn't take shit that she was a bitch, or she was unlikable, which was untrue. And I feel like I want to do Tina some justice to give her the personality that the show refused to give her, in favor of making characters like Rachel look good. Because a lot of the times, characters like Tina, Mercedes, and Santana were made to seem almost jealous of characters like Rachel. First of all, who would be fucking jealous of Rachel? Second, they were so much more interesting. They were so much more interesting than, oh, we hate Rachel, or why does Rachel get everything? Like, I really could care less about them banning against Rachel. I wanted to see them interact with each other and all that stuff. Like, I like, in my world, Rachel's pretty much cut. Like, no one contacts Rachel. I might make it a joke that she pretends that they're friends, but they're like, yeah, we don't really fuck with you like that, man. But yeah, there's that. I still have some bitter feelings about that character. Chill Cryptid asks, is Kurt in cahoots? I like that word. Is Kurt in cahoots with Mike or Blaine, or both? Well, if you made it in cahoots, like if they're dating, neither. He's not dating Blaine or Kurt. Kurt and Blaine is a very slow burn with eventual endgame. But Kurt is pretty much, he's single, but I like to draw him with Mike. Like, if I draw Kurt and Mike kissing, it's probably not canon in the universe. Or maybe it is, but they're just not dating. Like, Kurt and Blaine are pretty much really attracted to Mike. Like, Mike's hot. Kurt really likes Mike, and Blaine likes Mike. But Mike and Blaine become really close, so they become best friends. But Kurt and Mike, like, they have, like, a weird sexual tension going on. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but like they won't jump each other's bones immediately, but it's kind of a, hey, if you wanted to, man, you know, that's pretty much their relationship. Rusuhilo asks, or is it Rusuhiyo? I don't know. How do you draw them consistently? What is your biggest struggle with drawing them? Love your work. Please keep it up. Smiley face with a nose. I feel like I don't draw them consistently, actually. I feel like they look different every fucking time I draw them. But, well, what I usually keep in mind are head shapes, and like I like to exaggerate certain things so that when I do draw them again, they'll look somewhat similar. Like for Tina, she has a wide nose, so I feel like, and her mouth too, she has a big fat lower lip and then a thin upper lip, and I feel like those two elements are enough to make Tina look consistent. And Mercedes, like with her, is her little button nose and her lips and her little her eyelashes, her 60s eyelashes. That's enough for her to look at least consistent, whereas I don't have to make her look exactly like how she usually looks, but it's consistent enough. Like that's why I like character traits, because, or physical character traits, because those are what's gonna keep a character looking the same or similar, and keep them from like looking like a completely different person. I also draw them a lot. Like I draw them enough where I can remember what's their key traits, especially like characters like Kurt and Mercedes. Like I can draw them with my eyes closed, basically. Biggest struggle with drawing. My biggest struggle, I'd say certain characters give me struggle. So a character like Blaine, he is so hard for me to draw because I haven't quite simplified certain things about him, or at least that's to me. I think I love Blaine. I love Blaine's design so much that I want to get it perfect. So I feel like every time I draw him, he doesn't look good. So yeah, like it's certain things like Blaine. Let's see, Blaine and Mike are kind of like the hardest characters to draw. Santana's really easy too. She's very easy. But Blaine and Mike, like, cause they're Mike, I understand why, because I've just recently started drawing him, so I'm still getting used to him. But Blaine, he's always giving me trouble. But that's just a personal thing, you know. So I like to end this by just saying, you know, please, like, don't be afraid to be self-indulgent and like create the things you want to create. Don't worry about how embarrassing it is. Like, just have fun with it. And I'm telling you, that's how like 90% of shows and movies that we love today are made. Just fucking self-indulgent shit. Yeah, thank you for watching, and hopefully eventually I can make a tutorial. I'd love to make a body tutorial, but we'll see where that goes. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. You can feel free. I'm always taking requests of the next video I can make. Like if you have an idea of what else I can talk about in my next video, just let me know in the comments below. Be sure to like and subscribe. No, just leave a comment below. I don't care about subscribers. I don't care about that. Just leave me a comment. Give me validation. No, just let me know if you want me to make any other videos and stuff. So yeah, thank you for watching. Bye.